Hi, Dr. Phil. I want to be a star, but I don't want to get killed doing it. They say if you walk down the streets in London speaking the truth for 3 or 4 hours, somebody will shoot you. I have information about the U.S. Dulles brothers, Alan Dulles and his brother John Foster Dulles, who was Secretary of State. They were laundering Hitler's billions along with the Bush family. George Prescott Bush and George Herbert Walker were involved in laundering money. It turns out that Fritz Thyssen, after World War One, had lost all of his money. Later bought out Krupp Steel, which financed Hitler and Kaiser Wilhelm. Thyssen decided not to lose money in the Second World War, so he started three banks. He started his own banking system. The bank in Rotterdam, Berlin, and New York. After the war, Hitler's money was in those banks, which he used like a shell game and outwitted the Allies who were searching for foreign banks in which Hitler had put his money. Hitler didn't have his money in a foreign bank, it was in Thyssen's bank. So they never found this money. And then it turns out that the Pope, Pius XII, had made a deal with Hitler in 1933 to fight the communists. The Concordat was signed to let the priests say Mass, but not let the German Catholic Party stay in politics so that Hitler could take power because he didn't think he could take power at the German Catholic Center Party. So he took over in 33. He started Dachau, the first concentration camp. Basically, rounded up the communists after he burnt down the Reichstag, blamed it on the communists. We fought World War II, and then we beat the Nazis along with a 3 million man army from Soviet Union. And then right after that, we hired General Reinhard Gehlen, or Dulles hired Hitler's master spy against the Soviets, who was in charge of interrogating Soviet POWs who'd which they had killed 4 million, or starved and tortured and killed, shot 4 million Russian POWs, killed 29 million Russians, and we hired this guy along with 4,000 Nazis to work for us in the CIA. It turns out Hitler had a plan in 1943 when we were bombing Germany. He knew he was losing the war. He wanted to keep fighting the Soviets by creating a famine inside the Soviet Union to starve 40 million Soviets to death. Told the Nazis to surrender to us, not to the Russians, because they killed so many Russians. So when it got time to surrender, for example, Werner von Braun surrendered to us, although he's an SS officer. He said he wasn't really a Nazi, that he was just extremely anti-communist. That's what Hitler told him to say. Richard Nixon, as a young naval lawyer, was involved in changing the identities of Nazis, including Karl Blessing, who was a banker under Hitler's Reichstag bank. And a lot of these Nazis were wanted in Poland and Russia. They should have been tried at Nuremberg. Some of them were SS and Gestapo that were wanted, and they should have been tried and hung. Instead, Galen was handed a check for $200 million when he landed in New York, and they were smuggled in to Fort Hunt, Virginia, where they were given jobs and their identities changed in the CIA. You can find some movies like John Voight's movie on the Odessa Files, where you find the Nazis were given jobs where their identities were changed. But this is bigger than Operation Paperclip. This is a huge thing that's pretty well unknown. You can find it in books. No, the general was a spy. You can find a DVD in the History Channel, Nazis in the CIA, about General Galen and Arthur Rudolph, who was head of the Peenemünde V2 rocket program where von Braun worked. Basically, Nixon cut the budget to pay for the Vietnam War, cut NASA's budget, and ruined the space program by stopping the U.S. from going to the moon. And then later they built the space shuttle using solid fuel boosters, which von Braun would never approve because you can't steer solid fuel and you can't turn it off once you turn it on. So we lost 14 astronauts in the space shuttles because of unsafe space shuttles, which are now in the museums. But actually, von Braun's plan was to build a space station using the Saturn V as the booster for the space shuttle, and supplying the space station to supply the moon base from which we would launch manned mission to Mars. Now we have no space shuttle program, no space station, no base on the moon, and no manned missions to Mars. So von Braun resigned in '72, saying we didn't have a safe. We were not committed. The U.S. was not committed to a safe manned space program. Basically, we don't have a space program now except for the what do you call that, telescope and in orbit, but we're not going to support that very long. Meanwhile, we're broke on all these endless wars. I have some YouTube videos on the Democratic Republican Party, the Washington's farewell address, things like that, and I believe we need to rebuild America from the ground up, but we should not be favoring or disfavoring any nations. We should pay down the debt in peacetime we incurred during war. We should use debt sparingly, and we should reestablish the Democratic Republican Party, which was the party of Jefferson. The Bill of Rights should be the state religion. Rights are important, but there's a movement right now to contradict rights and to override rights. The National Defense Authorization Act says you can arrest American citizens for anything at any time without trial, etc. The Patriot Act that Ron Paul says is not patriotic, etc. There's a lot of issues I'd like to discuss in my family. Meanwhile, I need to lose weight, I need to get out of debt, and I'm 60 years old with some heart trouble. I need to exercise, I need to clean my apartment up, and I need to write a book or several books and make a documentary or 5 or 6 documentaries, which I think I could do better than Michael Moore in some cases, because I know who gave us the false information to get us into Iraq, which was supposedly an ally, but it's actually a backstabbing ally. It's not a friend. It's not really an ally. We have no treaties with this country, but they have spies here working against us and collecting scandals on congressmen to use to blackmail them to support them. And they have a hit out on the president. So if you do film me, you'll have to put a bag over my head or disguise my voice or something. You can see me on YouTube with my own disguise, and I'm saying welcome to hell, because the country is going to hell in a handbasket, and unless we put the brakes on this thing, and the brakes involve going back to the founding fathers like Washington, Jefferson, Lincoln, who was against the big corporations concentrating wealth in the hands of a few. You have things, a lot of wisdom from the ages is not being applied, and it's like America got off track with these Nazis in World War II that got the Israelis on our back, and the Israelis stole a bunch of land from the Arabs in '67 in a war they started, during which they bombed the USS Liberty and killed 34 American sailors, wounded 170. They say it was an accident. It wasn't an accident. I can explain why they bombed the Liberty, why they wanted to get rid of Saddam and Iraq's big army, why they lied to us to get us in Iraq, and basically they got bin Laden mad at us, which we've just killed, and we've collected all of his information. So it's kind of ironic, but bin Laden would never have attacked us if we hadn't been allied with Israel. So it's kind of a strange story. I'm thoroughly sympathetic to the Holocaust. I'm not a Holocaust denier. I hate Nazis. I hate fascists. But it turns out that the Israeli intelligence has become extremely right-wing and has gone over the line, has become fascist, and They hired the terrorists to kill Anwar Sadat because they didn't like this peace treaty with Egypt. They thought it was a weak peace. They had Arafat killed, and they have enough nukes to destroy the entire Mideast. Meanwhile, they're lying about Iran. And by the way, Jack Kennedy was the last U.S. president to try to inspect their nuclear weapons plant at Dimona. So there's a whole nother can of worms I've opened up. You can find Dimona on YouTube. There's a virtual tour. You can look up a guy named Mordecai Vanunu, find out how he was involved. And there's a lot of, there's even rumors out that the Israelis wanted Kennedy killed because he wanted to inspect their nuclear plant at Dimona. He was the last U.S. president to try to do that in '63. Gaddafi says he was involved, and I mean, we're talking about David Ben-Gurion, and the thing is, they framed Libya. They put a transmitter in Libya in '86 to make it look like Libya blew up the jet at Lockerbie. Libya had nothing to do with that, and then they recently used drones to kill Gaddafi. This was an innocent man, and his name is slandered all over the place. So, I mean, if they would kill him, and now they can kill any American for any reason, I'm trying to get my country back. I also have information on Christianity and Islam, which would upset the apple cart. You can find some of it on YouTube under Masterless Master. That's where I am. But meanwhile, I sent you my information, and also sent you a letter on my family the other day. So if you put those two together, you should get enough. So make me a star, Dr. Phil. Help. And I'll see you later. Good luck, and God bless you. Bye-bye.